Disclaimer: not everything is 100% accurate. Some dates for certain events are contradictory, even by Tolkien himself, left for interpretation or guess. Some events has been interpreted by myself, such as travel times, from where certain characters traveled, paths, etc. Details of considered not vital has been left out. Some details of found cool has been represented. In Part 2, we left just as the company was about to enter Moria, on January 13. During the journey through Moria, Frodo began to suspect that something was tracking them. Later, the Fellowship was attacked by orcs. The company escaped, and were close to exiting Moria, when Durin's Bane appeared and pursued them to the bridge of Khazad-dûm. As Gandalf fought with the Balrog, Boromir and Aragorn ran towards him, but just as they reached the crossing, Gandalf shattered the bridge and the Balrog fell into the abyss, dragging Gandalf in as well. They reached Nimrodel on January 15, 2 days after they had entered Moria. Eventually they reached Lothlorien, and were housed by the elves at Caras Galadhon on the 17th. During the Fellowship's stay with the Galadrim, Gandalf fought the Balrog. After restless pursuit over the course of 8 days, Gandalf and the beast finally came to the summit of the Endless Stair upon the peak of Xaraxagil, where he fought the demon for 2 days and nights. Gandalf used his last measure of strength to slay the Balrog. On January 25, Gandalf's spirit then left his body, having sacrificed himself to save the Fellowship. His body lied on the peak. In Caras Galadhon, the Fellowship met the lords of the Galadrim, Galadriel and Celeborn. They stayed in the city for a month, recovering from their journey through Moria. Celeborn offered advice and boats for the Anduin, and Galadriel gave them gifts to aid them in their journey. The Fellowship set out on Anduin on the 16th of February. The day prior to their departure, Gandalf returned to life, and lied in a trance. The next day, Gwaihir was sent by Galadriel to find Gandalf. He found him on the peak of Xaraxagil after the battle with the Balrog, and carried him to Lothlorien. There, Gandalf was clothed and replenished, and given a new staff by Galadriel. While the Fellowship navigated the Anduin, Aragorn was preparing for the rapids, but they reached them sooner than he reckoned, on midnight of 23rd of February. The stream pulled them towards the eastern bank, where they were ambushed by orc archers from Mordor. Suddenly, the south wind chased the clouds away, and a chilling dread fell on the company. As the shadow approached, Legolas bent the great bow of Lorien and shot a descending fellbeast from the sky. They paddled away from the rapids. This day Shadowfax returned to Edoras, being sent away by Gandalf as he was chased by wraiths back in October. During the next day the Fellowship portaged a few miles to the foot of the rapids and resumed their paddling on the morning of February 25. The company passed the Argonath and camped at Parth Galen, the western shore of Nen Hitho-El near the southern end. As Saruman was looking for an easy conquest of Rohan, he had 2 obstacles, Theodred and Éomer. They were devoted to the king and were high in his affections, as his only son and his sister's son. Saruman had given special orders that Theodred should at all costs be slain. All his fiercest warriors were engaged in reckless assault upon Theodred and his guard, disregarding other events in the battle. On the 24th of February, the day before the Fellowship set camp at Parth Galen, Theodred rode to investigate the massing of Saruman's armies, and encountered a large and prepared force, some 20 miles north of the fords. The battle lasted for 2 days, and on the 25th of February Theodred eventually fell, hewn down by a great orc man. A harsh horn sounded, and then all was silent. The attack ceased and the enemy faded away into the dark. The Rohirrim held the fords of Isen, but their losses were heavy, the king's son was dead. The day after Theodred's death, the Fellowship realized that the time had come to choose whether to go to Mordor and destroy the ring, or to Minas Tirith in Gondor so that the Fellowship could aid the defense of the city. Frodo asked to leave in order to think more on the choice. Boromir came to him and asked Frodo to lend him the ring. Frodo refused, and Boromir attacked him. Frodo put on the ring and disappeared, eventually deciding that he must go on alone. Boromir returned to the camp. Boromir explained that Frodo had put on the ring and disappeared. They split up to look for Frodo, and Sam guessed his master's plan and ran to the shore to follow Frodo. Sam reached it just in time, and set off with him on the final part of their journey. As Merry and Pippin searched for Frodo, they ran straight into a company of orcs. The orcs had been sent by Saruman, with orders to kill all of the Fellowship except the halflings, who were to be brought back to Isengard and Saruman alive, captured and unspoiled, as quickly as possible. Boromir attempted to rescue them, but was shot with arrows. Aragorn had heard Boromir's horn, which was heard all the way to Minas Tirith, but was too late. In his final moments, Boromir told Aragorn that the orcs had carried off Merry and Pippin. Legolas, Gimli and Aragorn placed Boromir in a boat with his cloven horn, and sent it off the falls of Rhoros. They then set off in search of Merry and Pippin. The same day, Éomer gained knowledge of a troop of orcs entering Rohan from Emyn Muil to the east. Under the strong influence of Grima, Théoden forbade Éomer to pursue the orcs, but Éomer neglected the order since he already suspected Grima's treachery. The next day, on February 27, Éomer sets out from Eastfold, and 2 days later the orcs were destroyed, just outside Fangorn Forest. Merry and Pippin were able to flee into Fangorn Forest. Gandalf had set out south to Fangorn Forest prior to the breaking of Fellowship on Emyn Muil. He felt that Frodo was at struggle with Sauron on the top of Amon Hen, as Frodo put on the ring, and took over the struggle, mentally driving Sauron away from Frodo. As Éomer set out from Eastfold, Gandalf met Treebeard in Fangorn. They did not speak to each other, for Gandalf was weary and heavy in thought after the struggle with Sauron. Gwaihir had been sent out by Gandalf and brought tidings that Frodo and Sam had left the Fellowship, and that Merry and Pippin had been captured. The hobbits met Treebeard as they escaped into the forest. They brought news of the wizard Saruman's treachery and his orcs damaging the trees, but Treebeard already knew of these disasters. After almost 2 months since they left Rivendell, Frodo and Sam reached Amon Law and toiled through the Emyn Muil. Soon after, they found Gollum following them, and captured him with the elven rope. Frodo decided to trust Gollum to be their guide. They set out for the Dead Marshes. 3 days after Boromir's horn was heard in Minas Tirith, Faramir saw the funeral boat of Boromir floating the Anduin. On the 1st of March, Frodo began the passage of the Dead Marshes with the help of Gollum. Aragorn, Gimli and Legolas met Gandalf in Fangorn Forest. He shared news and insight with them, among which was that the hobbits were safe with Treebeard. The 3 companions discovered that the horses they had received from Éomer had met Gandalf's horse, Shadowfax, in the night. Together they rode to the aid of Rohan at Edoras. As Éomer returned to Edoras, he threatened Grima, but Grima arrested him and accused him of breaking the law because he had pursued the orcs and had allowed strangers to roam freely without Théoden's permission. Denethor sent Faramir for an errand to Ithilien, where he went to command the rangers. There he acted as a ranger harassing Haradrim and keeping evil things from entering Ithilien from Minas Morgul. Halbarad, a ranger of Eriador who had watched the borders of the Shire, was sent earlier to the aid Aragorn. From Eriador, he led a 30-man strong group of rangers, calling themselves the Grey Company. With them rode Elladan and Elrahir, the sons of Elrond. The following day, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum comes to the end of the Dead Marshes. Gandalf's company reached Edoras. There he found that Saruman's spy Grima had deceived King Théoden into hopeless impotence. Gandalf quickly healed Théoden, who restored Éomer. He then deposed Grima, and he was given a grim choice: ride into battle or into exile, where Grima chose the latter. Gandalf encouraged Théoden to ride west to war against Saruman. He was now keenly aware that the Great War to end the age was beginning. If Saruman conquered Rohan, then Gondor would be alone with enemies on all sides. The Rohirrim set out west to confront Saruman. That night, the Second Battle of the Fords of Isen commenced. The Rohirrim attempted to defend the Fords of Isen against Saruman's forces. Saruman was victorious, and the riders of Rohan were scattered in retreat. As Théoden's Rohirrim was on their way west, they received news that the border was lost and he retreated into Helm's Deep. Erkenbrand, the chief lord in the West Mark, who had been thwarted by Grima, had been gathering all those able to bear arms to defend the Hornburg, the fortress of Helm's Deep, since Theodred's death in the first battle of the Fords of Isen. After Théoden's retreat to Helm's Deep, Gandalf set out and searched for Erkenbrand and the scattered forces of the Westfold. The long, deliberate discussion in the Entmoot led to the decision that they would attack Isengard to avenge the damage Saruman's orcs had done to their tree herds. The last march of the Ents commenced after the 3-day-long meeting.